Welcome back to In the Midst. Today we're talking about marriage maintenance. We don't really hesitate much to maintain everything else. We maintain our health, our homes, our cars, our friendships. We put time and energy and effort into things that are important to us. So I want to ask you, what are you doing right now to maintain your marriage? That's going to look a little different for everyone. For us, we don't have regular date nights. For some of you, that is your maintenance. My husband and I talk a lot throughout the day. Some days more than others, some days not so much. We text off and on here and there. He'll send me funnies on Facebook. Some of you don't do that. You don't have jobs that allow you to do that, and that's fine. So this really isn't a one-size-fits-all thing, and I can only speak from experience of what we do. So I just want you to think about, how are you caring for your marriage? How are you protecting that relationship? How are you growing, building, nurturing that relationship? Okay, your marriage absolutely has got to be maintained. If you don't, it's gonna die. That's not what we want. The marriage relationship is not one that survives very well or for very long on autopilot. If you leave your marriage on the back burner for very long, which I know there's seasons and this happens, and a lot of times this happens accidentally, but it's going to grow cold and stale, and that's not what we want. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, the ins and outs of your day-to-day responsibilities. It leaves us exhausted. It leaves us just going through the motions. Time goes really fast. So you might think it's just today, just tomorrow, but you look up and it's been a month since we've had dinner together, since we've had a date night, since I sent him a text that just said, I love you, hope you have a good day. It happens quickly. That's why we absolutely have to be intentional about this. One day after another, and then the ones in our homes that are closest to us usually get the worst of us rather than the best of us. You have to be intentional about giving your best, especially if you work. It's easy to come home at 5-6 o'clock and you've got this list of things to do. I've got to get the laundry done, and somebody's got a project, and I got to make lunches for tomorrow and dinner tonight, and everybody needs showers, and I've got 3 hours to do this. It's stressful. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, I do not envy working moms. Okay. It's hard. I'm a stay-at-home mom and I homeschool. So by the time, 3, 4, 5 o'clock comes, we're done with school, my husband's home, and I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm in the middle of dinner. And so it's easy to not stop and take that time. It's easy to be exhausted at the end of the day, and it's 9, 10 o'clock, and goodness, I just want to go to bed. So I don't put forth the energy to just sit and talk with my husband and enjoy his company. I don't put forth the energy for intimacy at the end of the night. It's easy to get there. This is why we have to be intentional about it. Do not wait until your marriage is struggling before you decide to give it some attention, okay? It's so much harder. My husband. It's so much harder to do that than it is to just maintain it from the beginning. I'm going to send him a text real quick so he knows that I'm okay. Maintaining your marriage doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be intentional, okay? So that's what we're really focusing on. I'll be honest, my husband and I, like I said, we don't have regular scheduled date nights. In general, we just function as a family. There's not much that we do that can't or doesn't involve our kids. They just go with us. We just do things. It's always been that way. Now that they're getting older, there are things that we'll do for just us. We'll go shooting, we'll go have dinner, we'll go get ice cream, we'll go run to the store together, just me and him. It's 10-15 minutes, but it's something. We're just taking that time, just us. It's, and one of our biggest things is every single year, late February, early March, our church has a couples retreat. It's like Friday and Saturday. It's about an hour and a half away. No kids, just us. And normally we go up a day or two early, and we just have time for us. No jobs, no phone calls, no kids, no one calling, and we just hang out. It's just time. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be, hours of shopping and hours of intimacy and hours of whatever. It's just time. It's just connecting, okay? If it's offered, we go. And this is something our church does every year. My husband will move heaven and earth to make this happen. He takes days off work. He switches his on-call schedule around. Like, he's going. It doesn't matter if he's got enough vacation days, which normally he does. But if he has to take a day or two with no pay, then he's like, okay, then I take a day or two with no pay, and I'll work more next week to make up for it, and we're going. That's just the way it is. So this is good for us. And I understand not everybody can do this, and you've got kids and babies and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm just sharing things that we do, that we make things a priority. So maintaining your marriage on a day-to-day basis could be something as simple as picking up his favorite snack or ice cream while I'm at the store, making a pan of brownies just because he likes them, writing a note for him to see that I put in his lunchbox or with his medicine. He's been known to randomly bring me dark chocolate candy just because he saw it. He knows I like it. Or he'll grab some donuts and chocolate milk on his way home to share with me after work. It's just one of those things. If he's out and I'm like, hey, if I put in a Dunkin' order, will you stop and get it for me? He's like, yes. He hates it. He doesn't care. He doesn't like coffee. It's normally not out of his way, and I don't ask very often, but he could care less. But he stops and he does it. He makes that one more stop before he comes home just because I asked. Most people say that it's the little things that make a big difference. But now, the longer I'm married and the more counseling I've given, the more marriages that I see and watch and I get to witness, there are no little things. If those little things can be the difference in life and death in your marriage, then they're not little. We have to stop treating them as little, insignificant. We can survive without them. You can't. So they're not little. They're big and they're important, and we need to do them. We need to make them a priority. These are the things that you will remember, your spouse will remember, and your children will remember. They remember mom left and went and had lunch with dad. She was gone for like an hour and a half, came back, and we finished school. Whatever it is, that's what they remember. They remember dad coming in and dropping a bag of dark chocolate in your lap just because he saw it. Dark chocolate's my favorite. No one else eats it. Those are things that they remember. And these are things hopefully they'll do in their marriage one day. It seems that we forget that being a good spouse is also being a good parent. However, being a good parent is not always being a good spouse. Devoting all of your time and attention to your children isn't healthy. It's not beneficial to your marriage. Our children must see us being a godly example, being intentional in our marriage. Not saying you neglect your kids by any means. Do not twist what I'm saying. But one day your children will move out. You are literally supposed to be working yourself out of a job, okay? They are supposed to have their own lives, their own spouses, their own families one day. And one day the house will be clean, and quiet. Hallelujah, okay? But when you're having breakfast or drinking coffee, you don't want to find yourself looking across the table at your spouse and asking, who are you? What do we do together? What do we like about each other? How does this work? You don't want that. So I hope you desire that in those years, you're spending them hand in hand, just as much in love or more than the day that you got married, than you were in the honeymoon phase. I don't want you to be unfamiliar. I don't want there to be a distance between you and your spouse. As a parent, like I said, the goal is to work ourselves out of a job. The goal in your marriage is to never grow the distance and be separated. The goal is for your kids to leave home and have their own family, and for you and your husband to still be rock solid together, and hopefully closer than you were before, because now there's less distraction. Do not wait until your kids are out of the house or grown or less dependent on you. Don't wait till they're teenagers to decide to work on your marriage, okay? Don't say, later we'll have time for us. You don't know that, okay? You don't know that. You really can't take this thing for granted, and you have to work on it now. Make time for what's important. Show your spouse now, today, that they are important, that you love them, you recognize what they're doing for you, okay? Make your marriage a priority. God cares about your marriage, okay? So until next time, stay in the Word, stay close to the shepherd, and let Him lead you in paths of righteousness.